Hey guys, it's me, Leaf. We're back with another video. This is part two of the Google Places slash Maps library API tutorial thing. So in the first tutorial, we used the Google Maps to create a basic map that's centered based on our current location. We use navigator.geolocation. In this episode, we're going to be, and this is the final of, it's like a two-part series pretty much. We're going to be using the Google Places library, and we're going to be making a autocomplete input field. We're going to be grabbing a certain place based on the autocomplete, and then we're going to be dropping a map, a marker on the map based on that information. So it should be pretty simple, not too complex. Let's get into it. All right, so I have the same situation set up that I had last time. I haven't changed any of this code. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to our import statement, and after our API key, we have our callback function. Right before the callback function, I'm going to copy paste something here real quick. It's going to be this line right here, add another ampersand, add libraries equals places, and then another ampersand callback init Google, which is our function that we're calling back when this library loads up. So this part right here basically just adds in the places library. This is necessary for autocomplete and the places objects and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to need that. Great, now that you have that in, next thing you're going to do is we're going to add an input field. This input field is going to be what we use for the autocomplete. Pretty simple line, do some inline styling. So this is just an input field with ID of input, and then some inline styling to make it where we want it to be. I'm going to save this, I'm going to reload the page, and this is the input field that we have. It's pretty simple, nothing complex happening here. Great. So now let's get into our script.js. So last time we have all the basic code we had to make our map and center it based on our geolocation. Right now mine is centered based on my location near a suburb of Albany, New York. And let's add in a brand new line, and this is going to be where we instantiate our autocomplete. So let's go down a couple lines here. And sorry if you guys hear a heater in the background. That's just my heater. It blows pretty loud and goes so sorry about that if it's distracting. All right, so we got this line right here, which basically makes this autocomplete variable, and equals new google.maps.places.autocomplete, and this here takes two parameters, two arguments, sorry, JavaScript. The first one is going to be the actual element, the HTML element that we're connecting it to. So in this case, we're going to do document.getElementById, and then we're going to be passing it the input, because remember we had input set to ID here. So next thing we're going to do is the second part, which is an object that takes the options for our autocomplete. So this is going to be just as I said, options, but we can basically choose, customize how we're going to make our autocomplete input field. So there's only three necessary things. The first one is going to be component restrictions, and we're just going to set that to the entire United States. You can set this you can set this to anything you want. If you wanted to add another country, you just put that inside this array. So yeah, I'm just going to do the US now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the fields. So the fields are a little bit confusing at first, but I'll explain them really quickly. Basically, every time you autocomplete something, you get a place object. So that place is an actual real life place. So say we typed in to get your house. Your house is a place, and it's an object. So it has a lot of different attributes or fields. So for example, it has its geometry, which is the actual geolocation of your house. So your place object has geometry. It also has a proper formatted address. That is another attribute or a field of your house. So in this instance, we're actually going to be using, we're actually only going to be looking for establishments, which are basically businesses. So like Starbucks is an establishment. So my local Starbucks is going to have geometry. It's going to have a name. It's going to have formatted address, has company logo, all these fields, but we're only going to pick and choose the fields that we need because you get billed based on which fields you use. So if you left this blank, I believe it would just return all fields, which would bill you a lot if you use this API a lot. So these two fields that I have here, geometry and name, are free to use fields. So I'm not going to be billed for these. Things that are premium are like the company logo, I think phone number too. There's a list of them on the Google Places API. So just keep that in mind. Great. So I'm only using geometry and name here. So now that we have our autocomplete, we can save this and we can see it working. Let's type in Starbucks. So this is the local Starbucks, the closest one to me. I can click on it, but nothing's going to happen because we haven't set up a event listener yet. So let's do that now. Let's set up an event listener and tie it to autocomplete. So autocomplete dot add listener. And add listener takes two arguments. The first one is going to be the type of event. So let's do that. Place change. This event fires when you have clicked, when you've done this action right here. I'll show you. This action, clicking it, fires place changed. So when that happens, the second part is going to be the function we actually call when this event happens. So we're just going to create an anonymous arrow function here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the place. So when this listener happens, when it fires, we're going to get the current place of autocomplete. Autocomplete.getPlace. And we're going to set it to place. And this is going to be a place object. It's any here, but it's going to become a place object. And that has all the fields that we need. And then the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to add a marker. New Google.maps.marker. And marker just takes an object. And this object is the kind of options for the marker. So the first one's going to be position. And we're going to set it to place.geometry.location. This is the latitude and longitude of the location. The next one is going to be the title, which is going to be place.name. Remember, we got the geometry and the name right here in these fields, so we have access to that information. Then we're going to select the map that we're going to put it on, and that's just going to be the map object we created last tutorial, right in one of these three lines, depending on whether the user has navigator.geolocation on, or navigator.geolocation, yep. All right, cool. That should be it. That should work. I'm just going to add a semicolon here for syntactical accuracy. So now let us type in that same Starbucks on Watt Street. And that actually adds the marker. Look. Great. And this is a real Starbucks. I'm not lying to you. We can turn on satellite view. Isn't that cool? So this could be anywhere. So we could do somewhere in New York City. We could do, I don't know, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Yeah. And then if we went out all the way, went down to the city, we would have dropped a marker in Manhattan, at the Met Museum. Pretty cool, right? I think it's really cool. I think the autocomplete and the Places library are really, really neat and have a lot of great functionality. So that's going to wrap up the tutorial for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this two-part series. Hopefully it was instructive for you guys. You guys understand what's going on. Hope I explained it clear enough so you guys know what's going on. Again, pretty simple stuff. This is definitely the very, very surface level of what the Google Places and Google Maps API can actually do. But, you know, you got to start somewhere, right? Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you enjoy this kind of content. Thank you guys so much.